All right, welcome back to another edition of High School Sports Talk. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby. You can find all of my work on the Kirby on Sports podcast, www.kirbyonsports.com. Once again, joined by the voice of high school football. This week they were on Classic Country 95.7. I'm not sure where they will be next week, but you
But
can.
we'll be there. We'll be there,
Oh,
Josh.
okay. Okay.
It's
So,
full steam ahead with Winchester's Classic Country 95.7. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
yeah, but 95.7, a classic country station, interrupting the classic country for some high school football, which you can't beat that. So, first and foremost, Dan, thank you for being here once again. Your game you called on Friday night was Handley versus Fauquier. I had a chance to tune into some of the broadcast on Classic Country 95.7, but my sort of takeaway, and correct me if you're wrong here, if I'm wrong here, um Fauquier seemed to be a slightly better football team than in years past. I know you mentioned before, I'll let you touch more on that, but the penalties were an issue, and it seemed to be that Handley wasn't going to run away with this football game. So their powerhouse for Handley, Stephen Daly, rushes for 328 rushing yards in that game at Fauquier. And Dan, you called a very exciting touchdown run for a really long game for Stephen Daly. So what do you like from the game? What do you dislike? How was the atmosphere? Take it away, brother.
Well, it's Hanley kind of started the way they've been starting, and that's a little slow because Fauquier scored first. First play from scrimmage for Fauquier, they ran an option pass and they caught Hanley kind of running up to get the running back, and the receiver got behind him. It went for about 40 some yards. They scored on that opening possession. I think that's probably the first time Hanley's trailed this season. Um, Hanley did tie the game. They went ahead 14-7. That was the score at halftime. And then, like they've done in some previous games, the second half, they kind of just enforced their will, just kind of wore down Fauquier. But the penalties were just ridiculous. Just so many penalties. 26 penalties against Handley compared to 3 for Fauquier. And again, you're going to have penalties in a game, but to have that big of a discrepancy is a little alarming. The coach for Handley was ejected.
I had no clue.
Yes.
I had no clue.
Dan Jones was ejected from the game.
What happened?
Well, it was he was voicing his displeasure for one of the calls, and I guess one of the officials thought maybe what he said went too far. That's about all I know. Pretty sure they're going to appeal that suspension, appeal the ejection, and I don't know what the protocol is if you have to miss your next game if you are ejected as a coach. I don't know that, but I would imagine it's something pretty steep if they're appealing, that ejection. So Derek Dowry, one of the assistant coaches, if you remember Derek Dowry, the player, it's his dad. Derek Dowry Jr. went to Penn State, played a few years back, and then his dad, Derek Dowry Sr., he ended up calling the plays. He was the coach after Dan Jones was ejected. So, but yeah, the game took, it was a good 2.5 hour game easily, and just. But again, you got to give some credit to Fauquier because they really played hard. But in the end, it was both teams had a lot of things that they needed to work on. But as I said on the air, the officials didn't have a great night either. So that was the disappointing part, really. But Handley gets the win. They're moved to 5-0. They've got their bye week this week. They're back in action on October 9th. So, and Stephen Daly he had a 95-yard touchdown run. That's the long run you're talking about. He also had, I think, a 75-yard touchdown or 75-yard run down to the Fauquier 1. That was late in the game. But I mean, 328 yards rushing. I mean, he had 7 for 163 in the first half alone. So that shows you what kind of night. And it was not, I don't even think he had 20 carries total for the game. So just an incredible night for him. But that's a long-winded, way to say that a 28-14 game. There was a lot more going on than should have been going on, I guess, with all the officiating stuff and stuff like that. So, but that's the long and the short of it.
Wow. So, have you ever seen a coach get ejected in your broadcasting tenure in Winchester?
That's a good question, and I don't think I have, Josh. No.
Wow. So that's a first. I mean,
we didn't even, and honestly, we didn't even know. We didn't know it.
So it wasn't like that obvious that he got ejected.
No. I mean, we're on the far side of the field, and the officials. We're on the other side of the field. The officials were right in front of the Handley bench, and I do remember that the official made one of these kind of "you're out," but we had no idea who it was for.
No.
And then when Mike and I are talking, we're not really able to hear the public address announcer, and I don't even know if he said anything about it, but so we didn't know. But it's one of those games where you're glad you got a win, but you got a lot to work on at the same time, and not to mention the officials were just, again, it was pretty ridiculous the way it went.
Interesting. So 2.5 hours you said the game was?
Yeah, it was maybe even a little bit longer than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of Mountain Dew did you get at Sheetz after the game?
Oh, I got my classic Code Red, buddy. That is like liquid gold, man.
I'm sure you were looking forward to that Sheetz run after the game.
Well, actually, it was Wawa. We stopped at the Wawa there in Warrenton. So I thought there was a Sheetz there, but maybe there's not. There's a Sheetz in Bealton, where Liberty, if you go,
yep,
Liberty, that's the Sheetz is right there on the corner. But this was the Wawa, and it worked. We got home safely.
Oh, good.
Thanks to the Code Red Mountain Dew.
So moving on, Handley once again 28-14 over Fauquier. Sherando hosting crosstown rival Millbrook. I stayed till halftime of that game. Sort of what I saw how was
the crowd?
Pretty big.
Was it big? Okay.
Pretty big.
That's good.
Pretty big. I mean, I unfortunate turn of events to start the game with a medical emergency. The game started 30 minutes late, but other than that, I mean, everything was fine. Thoughts and prayers to whoever was affected, and hopefully they're all right, obviously. But the crowd was pretty good, and I think it was a very, it was a decent game between these two sides. I think there were a lot of penalties that both teams made, a lot of mistakes that they need to work on. And I think Millbrook tried to get back into this game. They had a kick return for a touchdown in the start of the third quarter, but I think Sherando just had that many more weapons. Cam Sullivan looked great. He had 2 or 3 touchdowns in the game. AJ Santiago from Rutherford had a touchdown pass to close out the second half almost. So, I mean, Sherando, they're getting better. 2-3 is their record now. and they play the Riverside Rams out of Loudoun County next week at home for their homecoming game. So for Millbrook, I mean, I'm not sure if there's that one weapon on Millbrook's squad yet. I know you've probably done one or two Millbrook games, Dan, but I'm not sure if you've seen anybody who stood out to you, but I really wasn't feeling it, if you know what I mean there.
Right. I mean, Dietrich Brown is their quarterback. He's probably their best overall, all-around athlete. But you gotta have parts. You gotta have people around you. So it's unfortunate. The Millbrook, they're kind of struggling. I mean, I'd say for Sherando, from what I've seen of them, from Martinsburg to Jefferson, and now hearing what you're talking about, they are becoming a Cam Sullivan led team, and they're gonna have their most success when Cam Sullivan is able to run the football effectively, because that's gonna take the pressure off of Dylan Rodifer. It's gonna set up the play action, and it's gonna make passing the football a lot easier. Not that it's easy, but a lot easier than if the running game's not working. So, when they play Handley back on the 16th, you can expect that they're going to give Cam Sullivan the football a lot, and that's going to be on Handley to try and slow him down and make Dylan Rodifer beat them instead of Cam Sullivan. But I think you're right. I think Sherando's getting better. They're getting more confidence, and I think Riverside, I'm not sure if they're too good of a team, so I think they've got a good shot to even their record. And when you start out 0-3, there's probably not a whole lot of positive things going on, but they got a chance to right the ship back to 500. So but again, Cam Sullivan's going to be he's going to be their workhorse, I think.
Yeah.
Moving forward, and he already has been. So, but
absolutely. So Sherando over Millbrook 39-14. The next game, James Wood falls out of undefeated against Kettle Run 42-28. I don't really have many stats on this game, but it seems like Kettle Run seems to be a pretty good football team, as they have been in the past. Yeah. So this could pose a threat to other teams facing them in the Northwestern District. But James Wood, I still feel like this is they just faced off against a better team. I don't think they're falling down or losing their touch or anything like that.
No, right. And Kettle Run's usually pretty good defensive team, and they got 28 points on them. I think Jaden Ashby had maybe a 75-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. They're definitely that's usually a pretty good squad year in and year out. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think James Woods. I think they're still confident. They've just got to tighten some things up, and I think they've got like North Hagerstown, kind of an odd game, but hey, they got it on the schedule, so that's who they got this week at home. So, but I'm excited to see them. We'll see them on my birthday, October the 8th, and that will be at Jefferson. So that'll be a lot of points scored in that game, because Jefferson, as we've seen, putting up 41 or 47 against Sherando, they can score. So that ought to be an entertaining game.
Kettle Run 42, James Wood 28 in the last game for week 5 of high school football. The single wing of Clarke County beating Strasburg 22-12. Don't have anything.
That was at Strasburg too.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure how good Strasburg is, but Clarke County with
They
that
were
single
undefeated.
win.
They were undefeated going in. They were
Oh,
3-0 going in.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know any more than me instead of the score, but
No, I don't.
yeah.
But it's come one of those. Just that's a good rivalry game. So not surprising that it was a fairly close game, and Clark's.
Yeah, so apparently Clarke County was via the Winchester Star was shut out for a quarter and a half. Then they scored 22 unanswered points in 10 minutes.
Wow.
So that says it right there. It seems like Strasburg came out to a hot start and maybe let their foot off the gas pedal. I mean, I'm not really sure, but still, Clarke County, they're still a pretty decent team running that single wing offense. You cover Clarke County too, so the single wing very, very unique. I know you and Mike were talking about it on the broadcast, how single wing was brought up from Little League football all the way to Clarke County High School.
Yep. It's just a hard offense to prepare for in 1 week. That's a lot like when you have to face the military academies, Air Force and Army and Navy. They all run some form of the wishbone or whatever you want to call that. And the single wing is, you've got basically 2 or 3 guys that can get the ball. You really don't know who's getting it, and so it's a tough offense to prepare for defensively. And it sounds like they made adjustments, which you have to do in a game. They made some adjustments and were able to break some plays out, and so they knocked Strasburg from the ranks of the undefeated, and they stay undefeated. Does Clarke County? I think they're 4-0 now. They were supposed to have a game on October 1st at the newly named Mountain View High School, which is the former Stonewall Jackson High School, but Mountain View dropped their football program after like 1 week. So, wow. According to Casey Childs, they do not have another game set for that week, and they've already had their bye week. So it may just be, I think they might get a forfeit out of it. So that might still mean that they get a victory.
Or you can make the call to Pulaski.
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 So yeah, that's. But anyway, yeah, Clark's solid, good football team. Casey Childs, they run that single wing, and so they've got East Rockingham coming up later in the season. I think that's one of the better teams in Class AA. So, but we digress.
All right, so that's the week 5 scores. Once again, Sherando over Millbrook 39-14, Handley over Fauquier 28-14, Clarke County over Strasburg 22-12, Kettle run over James Wood 42-28. We're halfway through the high school football season, folks, and we can't believe it. So can't wait for 5 more weeks in the football season before playoffs. Once again, for Dan Gloster, I'm Josh Kirby. Make sure you check out my work, www.kirbyonsports.com. Dan, thanks again. We'll catch you next week.
All right, man.